Hey there neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Safety Plus steering stabilizer here on our 2020 Entegra Coach Odyssey Class C motorhome. So our neighbor today is actually my former cameraman. His name is Tom, and this is his father-in-law's motorhome, and he wanted to get a few things put on it to make their experience a lot more comfortable when they're going to their camping trips. So to do so, we did a couple of different things on here, but our main focus today is going to be a steering stabilizer, and that's going to offer him a lot of support when he is making those trips, because that's going to stiffen up that steering so it's not kind of pulling him all over the road. Another huge thing, honestly, the biggest part of this is if we ever have a tire blowout or we hit a really rough pothole and it tries to throw your wheel one way or the other, it's now got to fight against that steering stabilizer, so it's not going to be putting all that pressure on you any longer. It's now mostly going to be hitting the stabilizer, and then that's going to help you come to a safer stop, or just kind of straighten yourself back out and keep going down the road on your journey. Now, this steering stabilizer is going to be a replacement of the factory steering dampener, which is going to be attached to your tie rod and up to the frame. This is essentially just going to be a much beefier version. A lot of the stuff that you get when it comes to the suspension on these motorhomes is kind of just bare minimum, basic level kind of stuff. And we're just swapping it out for the bigger item that's going to be giving us that pressure that we need. So along with that, like I was saying, we also installed a front anti-sway bar that's about a ½ inch bigger than the factory one. So he's getting a lot more support, he's getting a lot more stability, and then when he's hitting those crosswinds, he's hitting the rough terrains, he's hitting potholes, stuff like that, he doesn't have to worry about it jerking him all over the road. He's going to be able to stay in his lane and make it to his destination. Overall, this is a super simple installation. It's going to be just a matter of minutes to get it off, but it is going to require you to remove 2 bolts that hold up the bracket for one side of your front anti-sway bar. So this is a good chance to just do it all at once. So this is a point where I'd highly recommend checking out my Hellwig video, and you can see what it's going to take to swap out your front sway bar as well. Aside from that, you do want to make sure that your alignment is in proper order. If your alignment is off, that's going to throw off the steering stabilizer. If that is the case with you, what you can do is find your straight line, whether that's just in a parking lot or following like a really long building, and then just finding where that center is with your steering wheel. And what we like to do is just take painter's tape and go over the center of the steering wheel to the center of the dash, and then we can line that back up when we get to the spot that we're going to be working on. Once it's all lined up and you get that on, you shouldn't have any issues, but you might have a few. Adjustments super easy with this. You just loosen up the U-bolts, retighten them back down, and it should be all good to go. So this honestly is just a really simple thing that's going to get you a lot of impact when it comes to the handling of your motorhome. Now, I do know not everyone wants to crawl under their motorhome, so if that is the case for you, you can definitely feel free to use our dealer locator, and you can enter in your zip code to find a shop near you and get it professionally installed. Now, if you are wanting to do this yourself but just need a little bit of help to get you through it, follow me and I will walk you through the process. Now, to begin our installation, we first want to make sure that our alignment is straight, and then from there we want to make sure that when we park our vehicle that we have the steering wheel going straight. So in our case today, we've got a little bit of a toe in. We're straight as we can be, realistically. I'll probably have a little bit more adjusting to do once we actually get this installed, but preparation can make the adjustment period a whole lot smaller and a lot less of an ordeal. Essentially though, we have our tie rod right here. We have a factory dampener already, but we're going to be removing that. Our new one is going to be going over on the driver's side, but first we have to get this out of the way. Now, I've got 2 wrenches on here, both have 18mm sockets. That way we can get this bolt out and then drop down the dampener. On the other side here we have U-bolts, and for those we're going to need a 13mm socket. And the other bolts up here I haven't gotten to yet, but I do believe they are also 13. I'll double check that in just a sec. But I'm going to get this off real quick. So like I said, this is a 13, or you could use a ½ inch if you don't have metric. Let me just break these loose a little bit. So these 2 up here are going to be 13s as well, and I do believe the bottom one is the same. Yep, looks like it's the same. So let's get these out. Just be careful. You got a couple hose lines right here too. Now our next part's going to be removing the bracket for our sway bar. Now we just swapped over from a factory one over to a Hellwig one, but the hardware's gonna be slightly different. So on the front bolt, we are reusing that factory bolt, and it's still gonna be an 18 millimeter socket, but the back one we swapped out. So in our case, we're gonna be using a 17 millimeter, but yours at home with the factory bolt should be a 15 millimeter. So at this point, I'm gonna pop out these two bolts. Will give us a little bit of wiggle room here with the bracket, because our new bracket for the steering stabilizer is going to match right up, and then it's got a hole here for the steering stabilizer to mount into. So let's get these out of the way. What got on here, 17. Now with those two bolts we just removed, we are going to need to put some more blue Loctite on these before we put them back in. I'm gonna just do that right now, get it all gooped up here. Now we can grab our bracket, and you'll notice it has the portion where that flat face is kind of facing in towards the vehicle. We want that way where the hole spacing is a little bit further out away from the vehicle, like towards the outside here. Now if we pull it forward a little bit, the end link will slide enough for us to pass this through, and we can bring it back up. We might have to fight it a little bit. I might have to loosen up the side over there too, just a tiny bit, just to get it through. So I think I might do that just so I'm not sitting here struggling for no reason. All right, now we can pop that back into place. Take our hardware, take our hardware, put that in. Hard to find on the back hole here. But I think I got it. I just need a wrench to get it the rest of the way here. All right, I'm gonna snug these down. And like I said, I've got a 17 at the back and an 18 in the front. You should have a 15 at the back. And after we snug these down, we will need to torque those back to Ford's specifications as well. Next, we're going to take our tie rod bracket. Now, you'll see how I am orienting it. Camera's perspective is looking at the front of the motorhome here. So this should be facing in towards the center of the motorhome, and then our U-bolts will be going over towards the passenger side. So I'm going to just loosely install these. We can drop the U-bolt through, and we'll finish off the U-bolt with some flange nuts. And like I said, you want to leave this loose because we need to slide this around still on the tie rod until we get it in the correct spot for our Safety Plus stabilizer. All right, at this point we're going to grab out those bushing kits. You're going to have 2 rubber bushings, some end caps, a nut, and then also a retainer. And what this is going to do is thread on after the nut and just prevent the nut from backing out. Now when you look at the rubber bushings, you'll see one side's flat, one side has a little section that's kind of sticking out a little bit more, and that section needs to go to the holes in our brackets because it's going to match up with that and then keep these perfectly in line. So to prep this, I'm going to get our frame bracket started first, and then I'm going to do the tie rod bracket. We'll take one of our caps, we'll pop that on first, then a bushing, making sure that we have that indentation facing out. That on there. We can pop this up into place. And actually, I'm going to get the other one ready too, just so that way when we stick it up here, I can have that kind of help support it. I'll have to slide it over a little bit. You can honestly also put your bracket onto the tie rod bracket onto here first, and then get the U-bolts on. Just really whatever you find is easier. I find this a little bit easier because then I can have it hold itself. So from there, another one of our bushings. End cap, nut. And I'm I'm just going to start this just loosely for right now. We'll come back. I want to get this somewhat kind of figured out now. I want to keep this nice and level, but we do have some clearance issues here. So one of the things we're going to do as soon as we finish this install is just literally turn the wheels all the way to the right, turn the wheel all the way to the left, and just see if this contacts anything. So I'm going to have you guys down here with the camera, keeping an eye on it while I'm up there turning the wheel. So right now I'm just snugging this down, get it kind of where we want it. I'm going to grab my tape measure too, because what they want you to do is crush these bushings until they're about 1/4 inch in thickness. And they'll start to overlap the metal right here. I think we're pretty close. I'll grab my tape measure, we'll double check. And then that's gonna help me reference, kind of get my other bracket where I need it to be. So at this point, I'm gonna throw on that other bushing. Hole. There we go. End cap and our nut. I'll snug that down a bit too. All right, so I took my tape measure and measured, making sure that these are right at 1/4 inch. So just take your tape measure up there, get a good look over, make sure each bushing is about 1/4 inch thick as it starts to get crushed down. I've done that on the other side as well. Now it's time to get our stabilizers level. So kind of putting it up, I stuck a magnetic level on there, make this process a little bit easier. We just need to get our bracket ready. Start snugging down some of these nuts. All right, each of those is snug. Now we can grab our torque wrench. Next we'll grab that retainer clip and we'll get that threaded on. We're not going to go super tight with this, but we are going to snug it just a bit with a 14mm wrench. Something you just got to kind of feel for, and you can kind of see like the edges of this start to bend just slightly as it's kind of pulling in on it. So that's where I want it. At this point, like I said, now we need to clean all of our stuff out of the way and we can drop this down. And like I said, we're going to turn the wheels all the way to the right, all the way to the left, just make sure we don't have any clearance issues. We are pretty close to this radiator hose here, but I don't think it's going to be a problem since most of our movement's literally just going to be side to side as the tie rods move. So now that we've checked and made sure that we have no clearance issues, the last step here is simply just test driving it. And for that, we would just want to try out in a parking lot, do like 20, 25 miles per hour, and then go out on the highway, get up to like 60 miles per hour. You'll kind of see maybe some differences at those speeds, but you might not notice if you don't really get up to that after installing it. So if you are having issues, maybe it's kind of pulling one way or the other, then what you're going to want to do is get down below and then just loosen those flange nuts that are on the U-bolts just a tiny bit, just enough so that you can kind of move the bracket. And what you can do, which Brad's done in his videos, is mark it. So just take a little paint marker, mark the edge on the tie rod of like where that bracket's going to sit, and then from there you can use that as a reference point. So as you start having to adjust it, move it one way or the other, you can have something to kind of lean back on and know, okay, hey, I've moved this far over from this one point I was already at. Now, a 1/16 of an inch can make a major difference with this, so the increments of adjustment you're going to make are going to be very, very small. So kind of keep that in mind. Don't go too crazy with it. Realistically, what you can end up doing is just kind of loosening all four of those, let it kind of adjust itself to where it needs to be, and then retighten it back up, and then you should be good to go. But just remember to torque those U-bolts back down after you're done loosening and then retightening them. So we did our test driving. We went out through our parking lot here, getting up to about 35 miles per hour. And then once we got out on the highway, up to about 60. Once you get up to that 60, you kind of get a little bit more of a feel for if you are starting to kind of pull one way or the other. In our case, we had a very, very, very slight pull to the left. So all I had to do was get under there, loosen up those U-bolts, retighten them back down, torque them, and then honestly, we were good. I test drove it again, no problem. So that is gonna do it for our look at and installation of the Safety Plus steering stabilizer. My name's Kevin, and if you still have some questions about what's going to be the right steering stabilizer for your motorhome, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.